because you're trying to get your earpiece.
That's where the are
You are now live and you are recording.
Oh, it is. Okay, well. Okay. Okay, so we're ready to get started with our next presentation, 5 minutes early. Mountain Harvest Kitchen, Lee Manning. And that is under your tab number 4 in your book. Turn to tab number 4. And it's a portrait, so that way it's a long ways down, so.
So I'll just go to line item by line item, I guess?
Yeah, just,
Okay.
however you want to do it.
Okay. So we'll start with the revenues on the top. The TNECD grant is a, actually, that doesn't look great, Judy.
Yeah, hers is up in there. Is that it? Okay, there you go.
The TNECD grant is a 100% grant, so that the total budget for that is $30,000. Estimate that we're going to spend about $8,000 this year. That number may change, but whatever's remaining, we'll put in that category. The ARC Power Grant is a 70% match, so that's 70% of the expenses that we've included in the budget there for the Power Grant. And then MHK revenues are $35,000 is what we estimate. So that's a conservative estimate based on the last year, the past 12 months. Actually, we brought in $40,000, but the last, let's see, fiscal year it was 35. So I'm just basing it on that. I think it's better to be conservative there. I am really proud of that number. We're able, all of that actually in the last fiscal year is through rental revenue. Actually, except, yeah, all of that in the last fiscal year is through rental revenue. So hours that we rent or storage time, and we're still able to provide affordable access for people. So that's great. The transfer to the general fund is just the net balance between the two.
Right.
Any questions before we flip over to expenses? We'll just keep going through. Stop me if you have any questions. So the part-time interim director, so that is for someone to cover during maternity leave while I'm off. That's 600 hours, so that includes the formative period that I'll be gone and training for that person. So my full salary we included there just in case we think it was better to be safe than have to go back and amend later if something changes. Payroll taxes include both my payroll taxes and the interim director, so that's why it's higher than last year. Health insurance.
I explained earlier
Okay.
that we don't know what it's going to be, but we know that it's probably going to be higher. And that's kind of the number I'm just budgeting right now, because I won't know probably until close to the second reading about what the insurance is going to be.
Okay. Retirement, same. Education and training. Okay, so. So education and training is for professional development. So that's for traveling MHK booths at locations. So this year, we didn't do any. So that's why it was so low. But next year I would like to go to a couple of different shows. The Virginia Department of Agriculture hosts a food expo that's really good exposure. The Tennessee Department of Agriculture also hosts one. And usually they're pretty affordable. So, that may be an overestimate, but I think that's good to include that number. In the past, I think we've had it higher. Let's see, where are we now? So 2000. So optional insurance is just optional insurance. Kitchen permits, they went up from the Tennessee Department of Agriculture, so that's why it's up slightly there. That includes Department of Agriculture and the Department of Health. We're inspected by both. Education supplies is for instructor fees and education, supplies like dishes, disposable dishes. If we host classes, there is typically a revenue component there, but we have to have a category, of course, for the expenses. So we'll keep that in there. So that would be like cooking classes, I guess, because most of the educational classes that are business training would be a part of that TNECD grant. Membership dues. So I've in the past been a member of a food group called, oh my gosh, what is it? IFT, it stands for Institute of Food Technologists. They provide a magazine that we put out for users to have access to. It's $100 a year, so that's what that fee is. Electric, water, gas, utilities, those are all based on last year's estimates. So we just carry those over. The Comcast internet, I guess Debbie's probably already mentioned, is changing. So we're just keeping that budgeted amount the same, and we'll update when we have more accurate information. Equipment repair is higher. So we have been able to bill our equipment repairs this past year to the power grant, which has been helpful. And so that's why it's higher than what we're going to be spending this year. The power grant ends in October, so we won't have that ability the entirety of next year. So that's why we budgeted that amount there. I know there's a question at some point on how much we've spent, excuse me, on equipment repairs. This year it was around $10,000. So the amount that we have budgeted in the power grant, and this should cover it. So it's not, we don't know what we're gonna run into, but we do still have the power grant for at least half of next year. Small equipment, hand tools, just supplies that we need for small hand tools. Grounds maintenance, so that would be landscaping. We put mulch down, things like that around the facility. Equipment, so again, I just wanted to have something in that category in case we needed something to accommodate some clients, but we haven't had anything in the past because we've had the power grant there. Securities, just for our fire suppression system, based on last year's figures.
Security, are you on with Fleener Security or anyone?
Fleener, but it's for the fire suppression system, so it's not a alarm system like they have here.
Your cameras and stuff's not set up.
We have cameras set up, but that's not a monthly fee.
Yeah, that's just for your benefit.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yeah. Maintenance. So building maintenance is for building repairs, and pest control is also in that category. Travel, so that would be for those professional development booths. So that would include mileage, meals, and hotels. Other contractuals. Oh no, we changed that one actually. So other contractual services. Other, yeah,
You're claiming.
right. I just for some reason thought, but I'm thinking of janitorial supplies. So other contractual services is for the janitorial service that we've hired, and miscellaneous expense is where we've been putting so this year we put our janitorial supplies in that category, but next year just to make things simple and fit with the other items in the budget, we have a new line item 324 down a little bit lower to separate out janitorial supplies. So that's, just actually the cleaning chemicals, which we go through quite a bit. Miscellaneous expense is lower because we're not going to include those cleaning chemicals in that category next year. Trash and waste disposal, so we pay a fee for our waste management pickup and also our grease disposal.
Is that a different company than Waste Management?
Yes, Valley Protein, yeah.
Yeah.
Office supplies, pretty similar to last year's. Office equipment, just in case, we need to put something in that category, something that we need. Advertising and marketing is something that we can bill to the TNECD grant. So that grant is for advertising and marketing of our clients and of the kitchen. But if, if something doesn't fit within that grant, we'll have this line item sort of as a backup for advertising bids, or, well, I guess that would be part of the grant. So that would be for advertising classes, any sort of billboards that we put out, any sort of posters, things like that, expenses. We talked about janitorial supplies. Building insurance is just the standard based on last year's numbers. And the ARC Power Grant, so
On that one for the new walk-ins,
say that again,
the new walk-ins,
Mhm.
so that they not feed you all that yet, is that what that means?
What is the question? I'm sorry.
You got a grant for 95,000, right, to do the new
Right.
walk-ins, but they not giving you all that money yet?
We have received part of it, not all of it back yet.
Right.
So the ARC Power Grant, the date, so I'm telling for our next submission, so up to 3/31, the actual remaining balance that we have is $71,000. I'm requesting $40,000 in the expense budget for potential equipment and potential repairs. So that leaves $30,000 that we may return / we may use for TCAP partnership.
What kind of
That's a little
equipment?
bit flexible.
What kind of equipment?
Well, so we have a list of prospective equipment, but we try and base it on the needs of people that are coming in. So, if we see an influx of people that are bottling and need access to labeling, we might move in that direction.
But you don't know specifically.
I don't specifically have, I do have a list of items, but we're considering, but I don't have, what the ones picked out, I guess.
That what you had, that, the majority of people, it's just not for one thing, and that would only be for them. It's usually what
Right,
we're looking for
right,
is the
Right.
majority of what people.
Yeah, we
use.
have to think about, strategically what is gonna, be the most used, by multiple users and potentially bring in revenue, things like that. And let's see, and then the TNEC, so the TNECD grant that we talked about, so that's the same as the revenue amount, it's 100% grant. It's for marketing and classes.
On that, Tennessee Care Act for the agricultural and forestry grant, that was the cooler,
Right.
the 95,000. And did it actually come in less than the 95,000? I know that you
Yeah, I
thought it
guess I
was
should
for.
have totaled that. It did.
Okay.
It did. So we have pretty much finished our expenses for that, and
We're just kind of waiting to get reimbursed.
$72,000.
Okay, yeah, I think that's about right. So,
Are you using it now?
The cooler? Yes. And so that,
So basically,
ends
you
this
got
year, so
that.
it's not included next year.
You got that and we didn't have to pay for it.
Absolutely, yeah.
So you're gonna get reimbursed 100%
Mhm.
for a walk-in cooler.
And I guess the timing will be a little funny if it happens this year.
That's the thing about grants that, you know, you'll see this throughout this budget. You never know, especially when it's so close to the end of the fiscal year, you don't know if you'll get reimbursed in this year or if it's gonna be in the next year. Because you're right there near the end. And that's what you'll see on some of these other grants that we have in the general fund. You're trying to project because you requested it, but you don't know, you're at their mercy as to when they reimburse you. So you might see something that's kind of budgeted in both years because you don't really know, we'll say, for the amphitheater exactly, you know, you can say, okay, well, we might get started on that this year, so we've got to budget something for it. And then we got to try to figure out, okay, we got to budget in the next year too, because we really don't know what's going to get done, you know, especially when it's reimbursements, you know, which fiscal years are going to fall in.
Right. So, no surprises, you know, it's mostly based on previous year's experience. Any questions? Thoughts?
So the other grant will end in October. So,
The power grant?
yeah.
Correct. Okay, October 31st. Okay. And I guess if TCAT does
I have not heard.
want to do something,
Did you get a response on that?
I didn't,
I didn't see anything.
so I guess Kathy had, the dean, no, not the president.
The president, whose name is Dave.
The president, whose name is Dean, of TCAT, come visit, to talk about potential collaboration and using NHK as a satellite campus for a culinary program, which would be great. We talked about many, many years ago before I came on, and then things changed, but, you know, sounds like they were making some progress. What we thought would be a good collaboration was, well, we have this remaining grant funds from the power grant that we're not intending to use. So they could perhaps, you know, get some of their equipment for their classes at 30% the cost. You know, they would pay for it. We would just own the property. We would own the equipment. So that's how that would work out. I guess, I don't know if, I mean, I don't think we would actually need to include it in our budget as, you know, we purchased it because they would be purchasing it, but I don't know exactly if it needs to come from the town of Unicoi. Right.
That would probably be a Ken Ray question.
Okay.
Because I think actually if it's our grant, it might be our
We have
property.
to, okay.
Would be our
We did say
fixed
that.
assets.
So I guess I'm wondering, would we need to then actually be writing the check for the purchase and then TCAT reimburses us? Okay,
Possibly,
okay.
if that's,
So if that's the case, then we will hopefully know and soon, and then we can go back and revise this.
The only thing I do know is they have a lot of irons on the fire right now. They've got a lot of their own Tennessee Development District grants and propositions out there to build out the old Boones Creek Elementary School.
Okay,
And I think Johnson County was talking about a culinary program. They were talking about the culinary at Boones Creek, but they did not know about this.
okay,
So they might shift. I've no plan. I can tell you, you've got to tell Tennessee Board of Regents like in April if you're going to start a new program in September.
okay,
So I would say the earliest would be something in January or next May. I mean, I think you can start a new program at any one of the intervals,
okay.
but,
Well, they're aware that, you know, now the
yeah, and I will
deadline,
follow up with them again.
and, you know, if they want to pursue that,
Yeah.
we'll bring it to the board.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't change, you know, the totals because they would be paying for it. It would just
And it
change the way it looks.
would not have a negative impact on the economic development direction.
Right, right. Yeah, I think it would be great.
It's consistent with economic development, workforce development, which are bid umbrella grant funders. So we'd still be in good standing with all of that moving forward. And it would help impact the revenue stream.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's exciting.
Hopefully, yeah, hopefully someone can work out with that.
Anything else? Okay. Thank you. Actually.
That was good.
What do you want to do next? Do you want to talk about appropriations, go through and they're kind of spread out through here at different places?
Sure.
Let's see. Actually, on page 6, kind of where they start. And this really isn't appropriations, but let's talk about it anyway. This is, we went over some of this stuff in here. Other governmental expenses, the building inspector expenses, that's from Dwight, our building inspector. The First Tennessee Development District Planning Services, that's at $9,174. That's kind of what we pay for Erica to do our planning and development. The NETA that Ashley had mentioned earlier, that's a $500 amount. We also share in district programs for First Tennessee Development District, and that was at $1,130. I think Kathy got a letter on those amounts, and so we just booked them as such. Ashley went through her festival money, and then we come down to the History Committee, and they have requested $2,300. I think you all have a sheet under your section 5 that shows what's been requested and what they have received in this year's budget, what they requested, what they received. So that information's there as well. We'll take a look at that. The ones that are highlighted, we did not get anything on. Which we talked about the emergency district 911 services. They did not request anything, but I went ahead and put it in the budget as, you know, as if they did for you all to talk about. The only thing that we didn't mention earlier was the natural playground. We put $1,000 in there to do mulch, remulch each year. The RW Estates Bridge, let's just go ahead and hit that one too. And the trail, we did get a bill on the trail from the town of Unicoi to Irwin. That was a small invoice that we got that we had to pay that fell in the projected year. And I put $1,200 in there for the next year because I really don't know if there's going to be any straggling expenses. I don't think there will be. That might be something that we can take out. The grant on the amphitheater, our grant was $248,000, the match for the value of the land. In the previous fiscal year, we spent $24,300 on engineering that we got reimbursed for. So if we do the bidding on the amphitheater, and if they get started in this fiscal year, I went ahead and budgeted 100, and then it may just all fall in the 21-22 year. And if we go to the drawing that was with the roof and the raised stage, you know, we were looking at maybe $300,000 in total.
And just to be clear, once we get those bids back, then we can decide whether we want to do it or not.
Okay.
It's still saying that.
The Buffalo Valley Connector Trail, that $190 was just a wrap up of an engineering cost.
Well, it's still saying that, it's no skin off our back. Sorry, go ahead.
And there's nothing budgeted for the Buffalo Valley Connector. I took that out, totally out. And then down to RWSA's Bridge. In the previous fiscal year, we spent $34,000 to Tossinger Hampton. And then in projected for this year is another 50 because their total amount of engineering cost is almost 80,000, something like that. And the $622,073 is a combination of the incidental costs of 90,000 and then the actual bid, I think, came in at what, 531, something like that.
So I just haven't ever done this before. Is that regardless that it's more than what we've been saying the numbers, is the grant gonna pay it regardless of that?
Yeah, it's 100% grant.
It's just,
But what you find is
We
that.
have to have it to be able to pay some up front to get it back.
but you know, it started out like 500,000 and then. now
But
this-
if you remember, when that started out at 500,000, we budgeted that last March.
Yeah, but
We did have an estimate from the engineering. Then the estimate came back in from engineering, it's gonna be 702,000.
Right.
Okay, so it's 100% reimbursed grant. Summer's bid, and I forget what it was, 511, 531, whatever. That doesn't count the additional engineering costs, because Summers is not gonna pay for the engineering costs, but we will be reimbursed by TDOT for the total amount.
The engineering plus the work.
Yeah,
it's like, here's your check, right,
we just have to have the money in the budget to cover it.
Right,
until we get it back.
right.
It's just hard
See,
to,
you couldn't get anything reimbursed until it actually went out for bid.
I
So
get
then
that.
after it went to bid, and then it got signed by the state, signed by us,
I get all that,
contract.
it's just in my head, I can't get that, when it goes up a lot, they'll still pay it, I guess that's hard to understand, they'll just.
well, it's
extra
their,
money
it's
regardless.
their project.
Yeah, but
They
still,
agree to it.
I just hadn't done this before, okay, that's,
Well, it's a TDOT grant.
I know,
It's through
I know.
TDOT. But like, say, for example, the Buffalo Valley Connector grant, okay, yeah, they're not gonna reimburse you, they're gonna reimburse you 70% of whatever it costs. It's not 100% grant.
Right.
Where this bridge is 100% grant reimbursable. So
Regardless of the.
that's the difference.
when they gonna start it, pretty soon.
They have so many days. They have so many days from the signing of the contracts
Do it.
to start. Now, there's something they're wanting to do fairly quickly, and it's to avoid the hell benders, whatever, that are swimming around in the water. That's what they called them. I didn't know what it was. I had to ask. And
I was
it's
sitting in
some kind of
Debbie's
a-
office one day, and she says, you know what a hellbender is? And I said,
They were
no, but
talking
I know
about
what
it.
it means to be hell bent. She just laughed.
No, I mean,
It's a salamander.
you know, they kept talking about hell benders at the bidding. And I'm thinking, okay, I felt like an idiot
Sounds
because
like
I
a
didn't know what they were
drunken spree
talking
or
about.
something, doesn't it?
And I didn't want to ask and look stupid, but, so I did ask and found out it was a salamander.
They have
They
a
call
breeding
them hell
season
benders.
or something, they have a breeding season or something, they
Yes.
don't ever.
Yes,
Like
Believe
they
it or
can't go
not.
a little further upstream.
Believe it or not.
and they figured they probably won't even see them, but I don't know. Anyway,
We might kill one.
okay, so that's that section.
There.
Yeah.
Educate me again on the amphitheater, you got 300,000, we started out at 248. How many go to 300,000?
Well, we submitted the final design, which was not the original design. The original design was a flat stage, no roof, 248,000, okay? Then we had another drawing done because that was not what the former administration thought it was supposed to be. The grant was written one way. and nobody was included from the town or the board. And so that wasn't exactly what the design that they had in mind, based on another amphitheater grant that had been seen by the board. And this, I'm just going from what I've been told. So they went into that redesign phase. Well, that redesign was not going to cost $248,000. It was going to cost probably $300,000.
They told us 60 extra grand, I believe, at that meeting we was at.
Okay, then that would be a little bit more than $300,000.
But we would have, okay, but a grant is the amount of the value of the lot, which is.
The value of the land, yes.
It's too-
In kind, it's called an in-kind value.
Right, but should that not be 248 rather than 300,000?
Well, if you're gonna have to spend more money than what the first design was, because that's what was submitted, was the final design.
Which we're not committed to spend that over amount, but she has put that overage in the budget.
But-
If for some reason we approved it to be built, she's
But-
giving us that.
That's what was submitted. The final design was submitted to the grant
Spend a
people.
little bit on it as far as engineering.
Did they already
We got
say
224.
Yeah, we
They're not
got
gonna-
Which design did we send out for bids?
the big one.
I thought we were going to the small.
Yeah, and I thought we did the small one too.
Yes.
I thought we did, that's what I thought we passed, was to do the original 248,000.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
That's, we put the big one in.
I'm sorry, but
But I think, to the minutes, that's what we did, we just did the smaller. We said right now, do you remember, Lois?
Resolution specifies a 100% match, 100%.
No, but of which, the roof,
248,000.
the roof, the big, amphitheater, or the.
The one that we thought we were gonna get 100% match on is what
The
the.
original one, correct?
We sent the bid for the big one. Because we got that information back from him. That got so confusing.
Yeah.
Why did that get so confusing?
Well, they submitted that because we got that notice that it had been submitted. And I called them, they said, well, they had to go ahead and submit it because they were afraid they were gonna lose out on the grant, the timing. There wouldn't be enough time to bid it and build it. Said, because it ends in August.
Okay, so it'll be a rigmarole when it comes in. Okay, all right, we'll just have to deal with it when it comes in.
So do we leave it 300 or 248? We've already got approved for 248. Or what it is.
Yeah, the grant's only for 248.
Yep.
And we've already spent 20-some thousand on it.
$43,400.
So it's 220 something we've got left on that.
I think we have
You
to
can put
change
it, you can put it back down to
248.
48, I don't care.
Yeah.
Go back down.
Yeah.
You agree with
No,
248?
stand off,
Put
right.
it in whatever we later,
We'll
whatever.
determine later.
That's the same thing.
So the bidders do go come in the big one, right, Kathy?
That's the drawing that was submitted.
Y'all sent the bid out for the big one, at the top and everything, right? Okay.
But then they can tweak it back down and we can see what, they will what designate what's what and take it out.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And we can still decide whether we want to pursue it or not. We're not obligated because they send it out to bid.
I think the thing will be what the bid will be.
See, really, we could lower it because we've already spent 24.3, which was on engineering that we've already recouped. So, I mean, we can do 248, it's not a big deal.
I was just confused, I'm sorry.
Okay, so that kind of gets us through that section. And then, let's see, continues on. Then we come to page 8. This is your employee volunteer fire department. They've asked for the 41,687. They've also asked for another, I want to say 5% of a pumper truck, which ended up being an additional 23,000. I only put in there the 41,687, but they were asking for an additional 5% for a pumper truck, and it was about 23,000. Like I said earlier, the, Unicoi County 911, they did not send in a request for $7,500. And Kathy, I think, might want to talk about that.
Right now,
Well,
or you want to wait? Go ahead.
doesn't matter. Then animal control salaries, they've asked for 50,000. Unicoi County Search and Rescue has requested 10,000. And then emergency medical services, EMS. Our interlocal agreement is at 28,340, but they requested 25,900.
I think the interlocal says not to exceed.
Not to exceed 28,340, so he requested 25,900.
Maybe the.
And is that just for this year only? This concludes that, and then the next year it could be more?
It can't be more than 28.
They have done
It
really
can't be more than
well at
28,000. It could be 28,339. But it can't go over 28,340 according to our interlocal.
And I'm thinking, was that a
for just the 2
3-year?
years?
I think so.
Remember, we said, so the next, so this is the end of our second year, correct? So next year it could increase, is what I'm trying, what I'm
It
getting at.
will,
We-
it will be based on their income and expenses, and the reason Kathy and I went to these meetings, the reason it's less is, let me tell you
They're
something.
starting to see revenues coming in.
Yes, they're doing well for let me tell you, they're counting their pennies. I mean, they really are on the budget, and that's why this is less.
Yeah, and ours will always be just what our portion is,
That-
because
that
what
percentage.
is, what
That
actually
state
is
formula
that,
is 13,000 times our population, but I don't have
I
that.
think we have 13% Unicoi County.
13%.
Yeah,
Yeah, of
Unicoi
our
County
population.
had how much, and I think Irwin had 25%, went on our population,
Yeah.
is that right?
Yeah.
That's,
I
you know, that's.
probably
what
have it out in the car, I just
Yeah.
have it in here.
Okay, then if we go on to page 10 and look at the rest of the appropriations, it's under public welfare and donations. Page 10, first section. We have miscellaneous donations of 1,200. CHIPS, Family Violence Shelter requested 2,000. The ones that I have highlighted in blue, they've increased their request. Unicoi County 4-H clubs went from 2,000 to 3,000. Little League, 2,000 to 1,000. Heritage Museum, 2,500, State of 2,500. Unicoi Public Library, she was here talking the other night, they have increased their request by 2,000, so they were asking for 6,000. And it, you know, that's, once you start that amount, you're there. You can't go lower. Clinchfield Senior Adult Center went from 3,000 to 10,000. Second Harvest Food Bank, 1,000. Unicoi Church of God, that's the Manna Food Pantry, 2,000. Children's Advocacy, 1,000. Unicoi County Soil Conservation, from 2,500 to 3,000. The mock trials at 500. Unicoi County Veterans Affairs was at 500. They went to 2,434. And YMCA, they requested 5,000.
We've not been giving them anything.
Well, YMCA gets their own donations, so I think that's why we decided, because they have their own, they get their own money coming in.
Yeah, and they
Yeah.
didn't, they haven't requested anything for the last couple of years, so I don't know why.
Before y'all move on, I want to say thank you for the money for the mock trial team. They did well this year, we're proud of them.
So, I think that takes care of all the,
Explain what you just said a minute ago about, once we give them more, we have to keep it up. What does that mean? Does that mean all these people that,
no, it means on the library, it's called a maintenance of effort.
yes,
Once you donate a certain amount of money to the library, you can't go down. You can only go up.
It has consequences on their funding if they don't maintain from the local government agencies their last year's level of funding. The theory is that if the local governments won't support you, then the state and federal government shouldn't support you. So they would lose money all the way around if we go in at a certain level and don't maintain that.
What was it she said the other night? If it stays the same, they'll be shut down in 6 years.
They inherit, the library inherited a significant amount of money in a trust. And I think that trust money is only used for maintaining the building. And then there's another revenue stream, I don't know exactly what it is, but at the rate they're consuming it, they'll only be able to stay open in about 6 years.
That's what she said the other night.
Yeah, I think Arlen is looking at some other way of funding them, that maybe they'll go in at a higher level to help support them and making a.
That gal was awful impressive the other night.
Yeah, she's doing a real good job. And that they're talking about maybe Irwin bringing them as a part of their department, as a part of their they'll save some money and things like auditing and different stuff. I don't know how much more they would give to support them. And I'm sure they'll still be looking for money from us, but they're looking at different ways to have their revenue and their expenses changed.
Well, what caused the senior adult center that's such a raise from 3,000 to 10,000?
I can't answer that.
That's what the increase was.
They send a request, I guess.
Do we have it here together? Yeah,
We do.
sorry. All right,
Because the year before, no, it's always just been through, it's quite a bit of a jump.
Giving money needs to go to the physical therapy. Is there anything you all need from me before I go?
Take us with you.
yeah, bring it on.
They give me a foot massage.
And Veterans Affairs took a big jump too.
If you want, I can make a copy of this letter from them that you all can review. Would you,
Or can I just read it through real quick? Or y'all trust me to kind of scan it? Or y'all want a copy?
Yeah, I want to say something on that veteran. I know they just elected, appointed, hired someone else to do the veteran affairs.
I'm aware of that, but why so much?
I don't know. 10, but I know that they're trying to get that working again. Washington County's got one full-time guy named Jerry Story, and they're trying to help the veterans here in the town.
All right, I'm looking at it. Is requesting an appropriation in the town of $10,000 due to pandemic. We are unable to participate in usual fundraising activities, Strawberry Festival, apple, sick lunches, rummage sales, bake sales, Christmas and Bazaar. We reduce expenditures where possible. We had a major expense replacing a 20-year-old HVAC unit. In addition, they need to replace a commercial oven, which is 20 years old. Need to replace a 30-year-old commercial warming cabinet. In normal times, our members can participate, including nutrition, health, wellness, I think a lot of this is related to the pandemic. The fact that they weren't not able to do some of their usual activities, and now they have a lot of equipment down.
But once that amount is given, then you can't go down. So-
No, this is the senior, that's the senior citizen.
This was a senior center.
What we were talking about was just for a
Just the
library.
library. Okay.
And the other thing is they've not hired another full-time director yet. They're trying to get the money down by just doing part-time. And it's still not opened up.
Well, let me back up and go ahead and say to y'all that 911 has got quite a substantial request. It's not on paper yet. It's not on paper yet. And Bubba and Adam Pepis and I are meeting on Tuesday afternoon, and Glenn White, to discuss, Bill Hensley is retired from being the 911 board director. And Adam Pepis is his term, vice chairman, so he's gonna step up. And Adam has put two different committees together, one financial, one to look at the bylaws, to update the bylaws. Adam is just gonna clean the whole thing up. And he has a vision for how things can go and where it needs to be financially and otherwise. So one of the first things Adam brought from his experience with EMS is that funding formula for the state. And if we look at their proposed budget, if we look at their, and we're gonna work on an interlocal agreement, a new interlocal agreement, and we look at their proposed budget, their shortfall is like $270-something thousand. If you divide that by the three entities according to that formula, the town of Unicoi is looking at like $35,000, where we've been given $7,500. So that's quite a jump. It's 35 and something. So maybe more than 36. Now, I'm not sure how well. I don't know. Another big question I'm going to have in this meeting is that the county had one of those memorandum things, and I don't know how they get out from under it. Whatever you call that, a memorandum of understanding, or what's it called? Maintenance of effort. Maintenance of effort. And they had been paying $211,000 every month on one. So I don't know how they're getting out from under that. If they pay $211,000, that only leaves like 60-something thousand as a shortfall. Divide that three ways, that's not nearly as much. So I'm gonna be in a finance committee with, like I said, county mayor, urban mayor, me, Alan Curtis, and somebody else. Anyway, and we're gonna look at what that all's gonna look like. So
Well, have you seen what their bank account is in their bank savings?
I have not seen their fund balance.
Well, I'm saying, how are they? I've heard it's big. I don't know.
I haven't seen their fund
Do they
balance,
know?
but that'll be a question I'll ask as well.
I've heard they're well off. I don't know.
I'll ask for the fund balance as well. So, the town of Unicoi has been issued a, interlocal agreement before, but it's never been signed and executed by the former mayor. And it was only for that 7,500, but it was like issued in 93 or something, and it never was signed or executed by the mayor, not 93, 13, something like that. And it's only been in the last few years that the county Unicoi started giving anything to 911. There's many 911 calls that get answered through police. Here, I think our obligation has changed. But that's quite a demand, $35,000 when we only get on 7,000. So I'm gonna throw that out there that we're gonna have to figure something out about that. Just saying.
Did they say why they didn't send in a request?
I think it was all the change of leadership.
That happened right about the time that Bill Hensley resigned.
He would have never sent it in, would he?
I think.
No, he didn't last year either.
I think he just anticipated that he was just gonna get whatever he asked him for. And when that didn't pan out, it looked really bad. It was out in a hurry. And now he stepped down, so Adam's in charge. And Adam will be incredibly efficient and professional and very goal oriented.
But they still want us to give that percent.
Well, that's the percentage of what the overage, but like I said, we're gonna look at it though.
And it may be less if you do the.
Well, we're going to figure it out, or I may just have to tell that's an awful big chunk of money, Donna, so expecting somebody. Yeah, Erwin, they were gonna owe like 50,000, they've been given 35. So, anyway, but the county went from like 211 to 192 or something. I was like, how do y'all get out from under that maintenance of effort agreement? That's what I didn't understand.
They didn't tell us sooner. But y'all are gonna have it.
Nobody asked, I think, at that meeting, nobody asked. But yeah, I'll ask it at this one. So anyway, we're doing that on Tuesday. So there will be updated information regarding 111. Okay.
All right, do you want to, the last page, since we're back here, we did the economic development, actually did that. But at the top, we have gateway enhancements. And We have the town signage in there, and I don't know if you all are aware, but 2 of our signs was damaged. The one out here at exit 32 and the one down at Walmart. So we have filed that with our insurance to see if we can get reimbursed for those 2 signs. And I don't know if they can be repaired or if they're just gonna have to be replaced. That is not enough money probably to, I don't know, replace anything. We have to totally replace that. So I don't have anything really budgeted for that. So if y'all want to think about that, we have the Unicoi banners in there at $3,000. And the building insurance, that's really the sign insurance for that, for the gateways. I did have the mowing exits in there for 32 and 34 because when I first came, Mark was mowing, and it was all lumped into the interstate mowing in the same line item, so I split it out. Because the maintenance guys were not mowing at that time, they were working on the pavilion and this and that. So that's kind of how that's split out like it is. Now we're bidding the whole thing on the interstate mowing, including the exits. We did get our contract back from the state. We're gonna have the same amount of money received, $45 an acre. So we're probably gonna end up having to pay out more money for the mowing. I don't know the bids until we get the bids, but you know, if they're gonna be mowing more, we're still gonna get the same amount of money back. So, but anyway, that's the gateway enhancement. If you all want to, you know, make any adjustments there, just let me know. Let's see. The Bowman property, I think we might have talked about that with Ashley.
Where's that at?
It's the last page, page 13.
I don't know if anybody else agreed with it or not. I'd like to see us, I think I told you yesterday, what, first to put some of those nice metal picnic tables down there.
Yeah, and I have no idea. I know they're expensive. Now, with making the adjustment on the amphitheater, now that change in fund balance, that loss is now 76,175 instead of 132,344.
Say that again, it's 76 what?
175. In other words, we have 76,175 more in expenses than we have revenue.
And we need to balance today. Somehow.
Yes, we obviously didn't have a balanced budget last year because of the pandemic and reducing our revenues and the sales tax and such. And I think for that year and the pandemic, you know, the comptroller was pretty understanding that if you needed to dip into your fund balance to make things work, you know, that was okay. But typically you want to submit a balanced budget. You don't want to budget more expenses than what you have in revenue. Your fund balance is, you need to have a healthy fund balance in case you have an emergency and you have something to fall back on. And, you know, for just to operate for 3 or 4 months, you know, in case you do have an issue. I mean, the thing that hurts the town of Unicoi, as far as revenue goes, you're so dependent on sales tax revenue. Yeah, you get some revenue from your alcohol and liquor sales and stuff like that, but it's not a lot. And your state shared revenues, I noticed that they kind of stayed the same. Local option sales tax went up. Fortunately, people were still spending at Walmart. They had their stimulus checks, they had their additional unemployment, and where are you going to go? You're going to go to Walmart. And that was good for us. And some of the restaurants managed to stay open, and I'm sure their revenue went down, but still, you know, they managed to pretty much stay open here in town.
You didn't put anything in revenues for the traffic rec center, did you?
I adjusted some of the, here's the thing, their revenue is gonna be gas related. And, do we know how much?
No.
Okay. They're also gonna have some sales tax, local option sales tax, gonna come from their things that you go in and get off the counter. You know, the,
Drinks and chips.
yeah, the snacks and, you know, that kind of stuff. They're gonna have ice cream, they're gonna have food, which is good too. And, so, yeah, just as some of that, the tax revenue is going to, most of our gas revenue that we get from the state is designated for roads. So anyway, you know, it's kind of, I don't know. You know, I don't know what we can base it on
You
to
know how much
project.
you added for this one business?
No, I just increased it a little bit. I didn't, you know, I wanted to be conservative with it and not, you know, go crazy.
We might lose some whenever they do the weekend or the one with sales tax ride.
Yeah, somebody was talking like the BMA that
Yeah.
we're gonna lose 2 weekends of sales
Yeah,
tax.
That's gonna be a
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Yeah, and that's from the restaurants and
See,
everything.
that's
So
not good.
even if you increase that with the
That's not
other,
good.
that would just maybe offset some of it.
Yeah.
So that's one thing we're going to have to consider too.
Yeah.
That's gonna be a big deal.
Yeah, it's bad enough having the tax-free
Yeah.
weekend.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know.
I've got a couple of things, if not there. There has been conversation, and I'm not bringing this up to say this is what I definitely want to do, but I want y'all to think about this. This building that we're sitting in, we pay a good bit for every month. You know, there's the expenses. I just tried to add some of them up. Debbie, help me out. If we go to,
We go to
what
page 5,
Page 5, I hope that's where I was.
Visitor Information Center.
Visitor Information Center, just expenses to keep this building open. Okay, just expenses to keep this building open. Electric, water, gas, our phones, security, maintenance, cleaning, building insurance. Do you see all those numbers? If you kind of added those in your head, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10,
Well, it's $27,050.
You just take off.
What she's
like
talking about.
merchandise
Well, to take
purchases,
off-
merchandise
okay.
purchases, few things.
take off a couple things. So maybe, let's just say $26,000, okay? For this building, we primarily, other than the use of the Buffalo Red, we use 3 offices back there and the entrance on a daily basis. Actually, we use 2 offices and the entrance area. The rest of this building is used, now we do use this space, it belongs to Riverton, we do use it. But at least half of this building or more than half this building is not used by the county employee on a daily basis. And there's expenses associated with this building. Right? Okay, so let's look at the expenses of town hall. I just want y'all to talk about it. I'm not saying.
Town hall's right at the top.
I don't want to go I just want to discuss it, okay? I just want y'all to think about it.
Yeah.
I'm willing to go either way with some things, but I just want y'all to put this in on your thinking cap. So if we look at, well, it's basically, COVID related and miscellaneous we could take off. Right, it's 20-something thousand to keep it going, everything that's down
Say
there.
20.
Okay, well, what are you taking off?
COVID related.
There's nothing in
expenditures.
that line item.
I'm sorry, I've got building insurance, I've got to have miscellaneous, take 1,000 off. So I guess it really is
You got
about,
security at the town hall?
No,
I guess it basically is, let's do it as a 23,000.
we budgeted 3. What'd you say, Roger?
It's a key.
It's got
It's a key.
Security system is key.
Yeah, we put 3,000 in. I feel like there needs to be security. It bothers me because there isn't, just because we have our
Everything. I
Yeah.
live where,
I don't know if I want to say on TV, but,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, we have, you know, our
The
computers and, you know.
town
So,
salvation.
I mean, we do have the police
Okay.
department next door, which makes me feel better.
So the impact would be if, and here's where the discussion has been in the past. If town hall were to move up here, that would mean Tanasi would need to move out. They don't pay any rent. Occasionally they have an answer phone. When they're gone, Ashley or Trish makes a sale for them if there's a sale. Or, I don't know, Jean, you volunteer. Anyway, during COVID, they weren't up here a lot, obviously. They weren't up here, that's a given. But anyway, other than the kitchen, all of that middle part of this building is taken up by Tanasi. There's 3 offices in the back. There could be an office where their little office is, and there could be at least 3, maybe 4, maybe more offices or workspaces on the front side with the glass doors going out that building. There'd be plenty of room to relocate town hall in here. Physically, there would be room. Physically, there would be room. Yes, we'd have to do some build out, build some cubicles, build something. We'd have to do some build out. There's a tremendous amount of storage downstairs.
Full basement.
Huh?
It's a full basement.
Yeah, there's plenty of storage space downstairs. I won't say downtown again. There is not a vault. I think it really was serendipitous that was an old bank building down there and it was a bank vault in there. But again, we could purchase some other kind of very secure door if we felt like we had, you know, like we did at the evidence room at the police department. But if we'll just think about there's $23,000 right there, and we're not even using this entire building and we're paying $26,000 just for the building.
That's not counting the payment, I mean.
Where's the payment?
To the debt service.
Okay.
See that, I would have loved to pay that small loan off this year.
Well, show me that one in that service. Which one is
This
it?
is on page.
It's a Bank of Tennessee,
10.
the small Bank of Tennessee one.
Okay, wait, I'm not too far.
It's like just over 100.
The payment, it's about 37,000 a year, principal and interest. It says new office loan, principal BOT, and new office loan, interest BOT. So it's about,
That's this building only.
right.
There is no payment on town hall. down
I'm
there.
saying here, we do that.
Yes,
this
she
one
said
here.
here. There's a debt payment on this building.
Correct, this one, not
Yes.
on that town hall.
Right.
Okay, that's what I was clarifying. The town paid like $300,000 for that bank building on that corner.
It's in way nicer shape now than that's when we got it.
Anyway, that's just something I want the board to consider. I want the board to think about pros and cons. Pros and cons. Pros and cons. There's no privacy in town hall, none whatsoever. Not that things are secretive, but just sometimes you want to have a conversation without standing on the corner having had it. Does that make sense?
She has hardly any space to do her job.
And there's no privacy.
You might not want to be up here, but that big room up there would be nice.
I want to be in an office where I have some quiet.
Yes, I know.
Anyway, I just want the board to think about that. I want the board to put thought into that, if even financially, that matters. And we don't have to decide that today. But then if we did choose, even if they moved to, I guess, they have the police department in there, I don't know. I don't know.
They're good over there though. I'm game for coming up here.
Well, anyway, I mean, I just,
And the other option we have, is the basement could be put in office also. he had to. Yes, but
They'd be really quiet.
I'm
I
not
thought-
going spiders, spiders.
Oh, yeah, she said they don't want to
He'll
go
be-
spider room now. over there.
Hill benders making.
All right, Dan, what you got?
There's for the
You start saying down there. Yeah, I went over to the spider room to dig through old planning records and, it wasn't spiders I was worried about, I saw the mold in there. Oh, that was just
Or is there mold too?
But you know,
nasty.
like the game, I think, yeah, the paperwork would have to get restructured. They've got it really nice, how they using the ball, they've got everything really.
There are no
organized.
still expenses as well, or dresses,
Yes.
I mean, there's gonna be a.
But she is the town reporter, and that would put her in position to be able to see everything coming and going. And I mean, these ladies, no criticism intended, but they spend a lot of time coming and going back to see you to talk about things that goes on in their projects. Y'all, I'll be right here to, it just be,
Which on one hand is good, and on the other hand,
some
sometimes.
things, but you know,
You like being
like
out
the
on the
maintenance
island
man,
when
they
you work
would
your
be right
job.
there. If you needed something, they wouldn't have to get in the truck.
I've been on the side of
Well,
the.
I know.
Well, I don't mind where I am, as long as I have an office where I don't have to hear what's going on the other side, if I have to if I need to shut the door. I am the type of person, whenever I work, I'm distracted very easily. If something's going on out there, and sometimes it's like, there's so much activity, it's like you're giving away free food. And just all the stuff's going on, and it's hard to focus on what you're doing when you can hear everything going. So I don't care where I am, I would just like to have a door that's a solid door, where I
Even
don't
if she
hear.
stays down there, she needs a solid door on that office. not
Where
just
I
one of
don't
those little
hear
things
the
you know.
discussion,
That's understandable.
it's so loud that I can't hear
When you
somebody
do
on the phone.
that butch, you need peace and quiet.
Yeah, and see, I just get distracted it's just me. Some people can listen to the conversation going on in another room, work there and not be bothered by that. I'm just not that way.
But I think you need that, but I think the town, like Patricia and Ashley, if they both need to be gone, then you two are always in the office except at lunch.
I think it will eliminate some of that nobody being
Yes.
somewhere.
The only concern I would have is the fact that all of our ordinances and all of our resolutions, our minutes, they're in the vault. That's fireproof.
But it's not lockable.
Well, it's been like that since I've been here, so I don't know what that's about.
It is
but
fireproof, but not.
It is fireproof. I feel good that they're safe, that it's not, it can't be destroyed by fire, that sort of thing.
And that's a good thing. I mean, that's not a bad
I
thing.
mean, that's your permanent records that need to be preserved, and that's the only thing that bothers me. It would have to be a room to where we would have access to file all that and have that sitting out to where, it's protected.
I agree. I mean, I think that's important. I agree. So again, add that into the
And
consideration.
then one thing too, you're gonna have visitors coming through here all the time, a lot, when they come through, sign in and ask questions and all, so that's gonna be a little bit busy, noisier too, a little bit. Yeah, that's one
When they
consideration,
come in then, but yeah,
since this is designated to visitors.
and I mean, really, if you look at that space that's, just on the other side of that wall out through there, I mean, you could easily get 4 offices and they're 4 big office spaces. And it may be just cubicle, but it's space. You know what I mean? But anyway, whatever. I just give some consideration. And then, of course, the sale of that building down there on that corner, if that was something we decided to do, that building is owned outright. There is no loan on it.
Or lease.
Yeah, so it could change our, depending on how we decide to move that, whatever. whatever we decide to do with it. Just saying, give it some thought. That's the other thing. One more thing I'm gonna say is, part-time employees. We have 2 part-time employees who I believe should be contract employees. Do we not?
We're talking about the city attorney and
Right.
building inspector.
Right, they are on our rolls as part-time employees, and I think they are both contract. They both should be contract. Part-time employees, are supposed to have set hours. Dwight absolutely does not have set hours, and there is no need for the city attorney to have set hours. I don't know any part-time employee who makes contract hourly wages as a part-time employee. And in looking back, we looked at about 4 months last year randomly. And we're paying the city attorney almost 12, sometimes $13 13 hours, 12 and 13 hours on average a month. No, yes, a month. Then we do it a week. A week, I'm so sorry, a week. And if you will look, which I guess we haven't really gotten to in detail yet, if you will look at, what page am I on? The bottom of page 3. Legal services. 41520 and 252, legal services. Now, there are just a few other things in there, Debbie, what, like a couple thousand or
There's
$1,000?
$1,000 in there for a deductible that we had to pay on a lawsuit that was involving the dump.
That wasn't us.
That
but we had to
wasn't
pay.
ours, even though it's in, the town of Unicoi, it does not belong to the town of Unicoi, it belongs to the county. But the attorney filed against us, and we had to have representation to get that lawsuit dismissed, and we had to pay $1,000 deductible, so that's in that line item as well. And then,
Is Murphy's number in there yet?
not yet,
Okay.
but it will be. But that will fall in this year's projected actual.
Murphy's bill to us, Jim Murphy for the Apple overlay was like $2,300,
Yeah.
23-ish, 2,300.
No,
Yeah, we did pretty good. We did pretty good.
I'm
The
amazed.
bill came in at 6,000 and Debbie and I were like,
Yeah.
anyway, somebody had made an entry, a data entry incorrectly.
They
It
had
was
billed
like a
us for the day
$2,000.
that belonged to somebody.
It was like a
else.
$2,000 little chunk. I was like, anyway, so we sent it back and said, well, you want this? Anyway, so we did good on that one.
When we're on lawsuits, the one from the old time mowing problem, has that ever been resolved?
I don't even know that I has. I haven't heard anything.
No, that's not been resolved. I think that's a Charlton DeVault, attorney that's representing
He
him.
waited to almost the last moment to
Yeah.
resolve
Last
it.
day,
Yeah.
Right,
But
yeah.
it's not resolved, okay.
So anyway, looking at that, last year was 63,000, almost $64,000. And we're projecting for 60. We are already at 60 this year, and we've still got May and June.
Oh, let me say one thing too about that lawsuit that we were just now talking about. Whereas before we had $1,000 deductible on that other lawsuit, because our insurance company, takes care of that. In the one with the mowing, our insurance will not cover that because it's a breach of contract. And so that will, if there is a settlement on that, that's going to come out of our fund balance.
We'll explain that.
so what's your proposal?
Well, I've called around. Our legal representation is costing us $175 an hour, $960 an hour. In the part-time status. Before the part-time status was granted, it was $175 an hour. Irvin pays $175 an hour for their city attorney and $95 for paralegal services. We don't have a paralegal option, paralegal services. The county only budgets about $30,000. Anyway, we're paying a lot. We're paying a lot. We're paying a lot. And I don't think any contract employee, Dwight or our city attorney, should be a part-time employee. They're contract employees. And if they are contract employees, what happens to payroll taxes and all that sort of stuff?
Well, our contract employee, we just pay them a fee.
And they
They're
do
not
a
on
lot of
our
work.
payroll. They're not on our payroll taxes.
Okay, so all that goes away as well. Payroll taxes, there's $5,000 in payroll taxes. We don't have to pay that, right? That goes away. So in addition to just in converting, taking out that legal services part-time position, reverting back to contract legal services, there's $5,000 right there that we wouldn't be spending. I don't, there's no part-time employee I know that makes $160 an hour.
Are you saying it won't go back to 30, is what you're saying? Contract?
Well, I don't know, and take it back, like I said, on average, we've been billed for anywhere from 12 to 13 hours a week. And we have stuff that our legal representation needs to monitor for us. I don't know how we just say we're gonna limit it to a certain number, but
The county has done it for years.
I just don't think we need to,
What do they call
28 or
30. The county, they only budget about
Are they
30,000
30
for
now?
legal.
Do they have any other employees under them taking care of some of that overline that the attorney does?
Like a county manager
Yeah,
or
or
something,
assistant.
not aware.
That takes, care of the work. we do.
I've done it for years. I guess he still does.
A lot of it is the course of action
I
that you have
just-
through the year as to how you.
I just
need
think
to
we're
turn.
paying a whole lot. I mean, for our size. It just seems like a lot. It just seems like a lot for our size.
So shoot for 30, but always change it.
And probably because of the increase over the percentage that they get since she's been here that many years, that's probably where some of that money has come in, probably more too, I would think.
And possibly. Well, and I don't know whether, but two things have to happen. We'll have to have board action that demonstrates willingness to convert both of our those two part-time positions back to contractual.
Are we under obligation now?
What do you mean under obligation?
Are we under contract or anything?
You hire
All we
fire
did was
people.
put it in the budget, correct? Just budgeted.
Yeah, we gotta budget it, and then we'll have to do the paperwork.
After thought first. You go for 30 and you always change it, you know.
Is that something you want me to change?
Well, let's reduce it. I don't know if 30 is too restrictive coming from 60, but
If we had a major disaster, we could vote to.
we could always go to up. I mean, just like we went to get Murphy, we needed him for a
Yes,
project.
yes.
We have a plan. I mean, this is a plan, it's not concrete.
I think that's a good draft myself. But we always know there's gonna be bumps and we just don't know where the bump is or how much.
And I think we can be prepared to deal with a glitch and a bump, yeah. Look at it. Good. She's got magic right there.
30,
George, you want to do 30 or 40? What is it?
30. And you're just gonna do the white down to, what are you gonna put? in
Well,
there?
he doesn't have set hours. The way he bills us, and I don't know why he's considered an employee. I don't know.
Now, where is he on here? Let me
He
find-
is down in central staff.
There it is.
129.
So do you pay any payroll taxes on him?
We do, but he bills us by the time, how many times he goes out to inspect.
Mm-hmm.
it's not really, like his varies. Sometimes he won't have anything.
That's why he's contract.
Yeah.
And he only goes.
He is on a
on the
list,
list that got
he's on
referred to
a,
the
he's
state as
on
a
a list
part-time
as an employee.
And you give him the order to.
I
go.
don't think you can adjust his money.
Yeah.
I think you're gonna have to leave it.
We can leave
Because-
the money but not pay tax on it.
We don't have to pay.
I don't know why that was done that way. I can't.
Well, you could do one change with the line, change both of them.
Change both of them at the same time.
All right, let me go up here and do the attorney.
But that should also impact their payroll taxes, yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to go down to, okay, 30,000, right?
Mhm.
Can I bring up one more?
Okay, do you want me to change this under requested, or do you want me to go out here and put under BMA? Showing that it's been changed. Do you want me to leave it at 60,200 and then go over there to the right
No,
column?
go ahead and change it, because when we keep working on our balance and what we're either over or under.
Okay, I'll
let's
change
keep
it to
working with that
requested.
number. Yeah, okay,
I got you. Now,
okay.
okay, go ahead.
Ready? Pass those out. Okay, what I'm giving you all is a summary of where we are in town on the cost of the kitchen. I don't think that's been put together as such, David, correct me if I'm not correct.
Yeah, I think it looks correct. I don't have the audits, but I think pretty much the 20 audit, the general fund transferred 91,671. Yeah, these are all audited numbers, you know,
And everything across there is audited, and of course, we don't have to put one yet. But anyway, what I'm showing you all is that, audit numbers is 881,000. And if I look at the kitchen loss that we showed last month on our financials of 137,000. From the general fund, right now we have over $1 million in the kitchen, as of right now. Now, I've got at the bottom, our construction grant was $475,225. I tried to get I did reach Ken Ray, but he was not at his office. So he could not tell me how much we had spent on the park grant, but on 7/6 of last year, we had spent 215. So I used that number. So what I'm saying is today, we have probably over $1.7 million in that kitchen as it stands right now. Again, he couldn't give me what's left on the park grant, and I couldn't drive. He said, I think it's so-and-so, and I said, well, I can't use think. So I said, I'm just gonna I'll just use what I got, and I know it's accurate. And what I put together here is, let's see there. What I put together here for you all to look at and get an idea. If I can get it. This shows us where we are today. The construction grant for the building is a 20-year item where we have to use that building for 20 years for economic development. If we don't, we have to pay back all of the $475,225. Now, the power grant is for 5 years. And again, if we don't keep it open for economic purposes, we have to take all of it back. So both grants, about $775,000. So if you take a look at, we're losing, let's say 130,000 this year, next year. For 16 years, we're gonna pay out over $2 million. And if you look, how much it will be if we take off the grants of $775. If we close the kitchen June the 30th, we will save the town over 16 years, $1.3 million. Now, Kathy mentioned that she's trying to get TCAP, what is it? TCAP, to come in and use it for culinary studies and teaching and so forth. Now, if they could do that, then that would keep us in good standings with all of our grant people. But if you look at all things in perspective, we're losing money on that kitchen every year, and we just went over it. We're gonna lose 133,000 this coming year projected. That is money that could be used for something else. And the value of the kitchen to the town is probably close to zero, because there's very few people using it from the town. She has Thick Clean Meals, which is the biggest user. And those people, again, is their biggest user. They're being charged $16 an hour to use it, but they've got 13 workers in there working and only have to be paid $16 an hour. And it's just, we just can't keep putting money into the kitchen. But if you look at these numbers, it verifies that it's a huge loss for us every year. And I think we're going to have to take a look at what we can do to stop the bleeding. And it's a serious bleeding right now. So unless you all read over those numbers.
One thing he didn't put on here, between the insurance and, or not, I'm sorry, not insurance, between the interest and the yearly payment, that's basically 90,000. You'll see on one of those two capital outlays. That's on top of losing that 133. So we're over 210, see, 220,000 a year in the negative. And if we could lease it out to somebody, we might possibly get enough money to help pay them the yearly payment on that. Now, Dan Moore has called me twice in the last week, and he knows our numbers. And I told him, I don't know that they'd meet the economic development requirements, but I told him I would bring it up in today's meeting.
Who is Man Moore?
Dan Moore, the veterinarian, he's making over 100 products a year. Last week, he now sells to Chewy.com. And I don't know if anything, I told him maybe we could have a talk, or maybe you and Roger could sit and talk to him. I don't know. I just.
What does he want to do?
He makes all kinds of natural
Does he want to take over the kitchen
Take
or
it.
make products out of the kitchen?
Take it over, take it completely over. And
This is workforce development.
I'm just saying, he called me, I had to, I tried to tell him, I don't think it'll work, but I told him I would present it.
It's just somebody making their money there off that.
See, one of the things that the incubator kitchen, and their strategic plan, if you all think I'll talk to it, those people are supposed to come in, develop a product in the business, and then go to a brick and mortar shop. Well, that's not happening today with Thick Clean Meals. I mean, he's running a major business at our expense right now. We're subsidizing him. And other than that, we're wearing their equipment out. This year, from July the 1st until last month, we spent over $9,000. And she said it's actually $10,000 on maintenance. So we're wearing their equipment out and getting virtually no return on our investment of $16 an hour at all he's been charged. And
His bills, I've got bills from her the last 3 months, and he's basically paying plus or minus right around $1,000 a month. And some months he's doing some weeks he's doing 1,000 to 1,500 meals a week.
At $10 a pop.
And if you look up the utility bills, he's not even paying the utility bills for that. that facility. There's another man that's got a food truck. He's paying $41.50 a month. And he goes up there wherever he goes and dumps his gray water out of his truck. He turns around and fills his clean tank up with our clean water, and we're paying the water bill, so it's kind of zero.
Well, one thing I think the board, both boards, that the suggestion, you know, when they came from New York, suggested that we get the foundations, the people to fund, and up on the amount of hour usage which she has. And that's one thing I don't think either board has ever really worked on getting it somewhere. So, you know, we haven't even tried that avenue.
No, and you remember the work session, I charged her with that.
Mhm. And you know, I think you said you got that and you saw a bunch of stuff that could be,
And
but you
I-
was amazed the people that would,
And
and that
I-
they supported it all the time. So we've never really gone through that avenue to do.
And I think it's her responsibility to make that progress.
And I've also
I mean,
done it
that's her job,
And East Tennessee
and it's
State,
not happening.
yeah, the innovation was going to come in when they first started. You know, if they had got on board and done that.
Well, and she's got a whole
self-sufficient.
kitchen committee. And some of these ETSU people are on that kitchen committee.
And that's where just somewhere.
And this has nothing to do with really with the idea, the concept, the people involved, the product, the process, the fact that it's a kitchen, nothing. At this point, I think as a town, we have to look at what are we paying for and what are we getting? If we're worried about what we're getting out of economic development, we need to be worried about what the town's getting out of the kitchen.
And I think to
I mean,
begin
you
with,
know
the
what I mean?
concept
We're
was
worried
supposed to be a regional, it wasn't really just for the town, it's
It
supposed to
has
be
not, and
outreach.
I agree with you, and I think the challenging question is, why is it not 4 years into it? Why is it not regional? Why is it not? And I'm not asking you for an answer, that's a rhetorical question, but why is it not?
How many businesses had she started, she said, and some of them, I think.
I
she
mean, there
started
may be
seven.
up to 10 or so that have started,
but it's like,
and that's a good thing, and that's a good thing. I'm not poo-pooing that, that's a good thing.
But it just puts, I understand it puts a lot on the town debt that they thought would already be taken care of. So somewhere through the line, the foundations has not come like they had thought.
Well, and the first kitchen plan that got submitted to, or the kitchen financial plan that got submitted to the town that went in with the grant said that it would be profitable in 3 years.
And that just missed the mark,
Absolutely missed the mark.
ETSU
I
done.
heard a copy of it.
So, and like I said, this has nothing to do with any person, the fact that it's kitchen, that it's food, that it's
I don't,
none of that. It has to do with financially. What is this doing for the town? Why is the town spending this money? And what are we getting for it? What can we do to change this? That is one of the reasons I reached out to TCAT, because I know that they are interested in a culinary school. And Lee has been very receptive to that, and that's a good thing.
but
We don't,
does she think she'd still be there?
we don't know what it would look like. I don't know. We don't know what it would look like. We'll have to let all
We
that
don't know
kind
how
of
the
play out.
transformation would go.
Yeah, let all that play out. I don't know. But I'm just, I mean, we've got to find other,
One of the things that,
we paid how much for that study? We paid for a big study.
It's like $15,000.
Yes, and in that study, there were action steps to be taken. Have they been taken?
No, and then the board's
No.
meeting on last quarter, this quarter, either one has.
But it's not the board's responsibility.
That's
It's her
well,
responsibility.
Right, but to ensure.
It's
though,
that
or
position's
they have the,
responsibility.
sit down, talk, this is what we come up with, this is what we need to be done.
We went over the strategic plan, but I don't think the kitchen committee ever saw the strategic plan.
well,
Can I say something to her real quick on this subject? When we got sworn in, I was at town hall that Thursday, and as Lee was there, I said, could I come over and see the kitchen? She said, you'll have to make an appointment. And I said, okay, make me an appointment. I went on Monday, I stayed just past 2 hours, I still got my little book at the house. I asked her, I said, Lee, have you ever figured your capacity, hours of capacity of your kitchen? Do you know what that number is? She does not. I said, if you know your hours of capacity, do you know what your expected revenue would be? She just smiled. Then I go ask her, we talk about what you and her's been talking about corporate sponsorship. I said, you're not getting it, you've got to go out. She looked at me and she said, but you all are going to have to help me. And I pointed to her and I said, I don't get paid to do that, you get paid to do that. And she still just smiled at me. That is her job, that's not your job, my job, us 5 people, it's not our job to go beat on corporate. And in order to get money from corporate, you're gonna be able to give them something in return for that house. And what can that kitchen offer? I don't have a thing on earth against Lee, nothing, not a thing. But I've been in sales all my life, and if y'all sent me to try to get $500 from Reinhardt Foods down here, I can't think of why I would tell them they need to get it. You got to go to corporate, you got to have reasons to be a partnership. These people over here, she can't promise them they'll come and buy food from Reinhardt Food. You know what I'm saying? What can the kitchen give back to Reinhardt Food if they want to give a corporate donation? And I mean, you talk about $133,000 plus $90,000 on a yearly payment. That's a whole lot of sponsorship.
Well, and again, and the reality of it, without us, I have a little bit of trepidation that this is gonna feel like an attack on the kitchen. It's not an attack on the kitchen, it's an attack on what's happening with that entity within the town. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. But when we get to, like on the budget where we were looking, if we get to one of those very last pages where we look at the donations, that people have requested. Public welfare donations, page 10.
The very back page. Some of them
It's
say-
page, well, okay, page 10 though has like chips and Little League and all that sort of stuff. Would we be struggling over whether or not to give $4,000 or $6,000 to the library if we weren't giving $137,000 somewhere else? Yeah, I mean, this is our overall budget we're talking about. This is our overall budget. Would it be such a problem to come up with $35,000 for 911? Would it be such a challenge to come up with something that we could contribute to Unicoi Elementary Gym? I mean, when money goes one place, it doesn't go somewhere else. So, put that, however many years that money has come and then put, I think we got to think about where it's going. And if we look at how does it benefit our citizens? How does it benefit our town? What does the town get for it? What do the citizens get for it? Answer that question.
Well, I think one thing,
For that
this might be a little bit off of what we're saying, but I know when we did give that school money, we knew after that, then we got the emergency, we got our police station, and that took care of some of that, and we knew that, because we knew that was coming off.
Right.
Because that's a 20-year end.
Yeah.
If the other entities didn't have to even give them, we had no tax dollars, so that right there was probably about $1.6 million.
Now, and we gave a lot to the school
Yes.
overall those years. We did.
Yeah.
And they was back today wanting some more.
I know, but
Never ends.
I know it does never end, and people are always going to ask, but here we go again. I mean, we could probably come up with some kind of a rubric. Who benefits? How do they benefit?
Really, what's our responsibility and what do we need to do?
I mean, every child in the county employee is going to ultimately go through that high school. You know what I mean? And parents go watch their kids play ball. Grandparents go watch.
I don't regret a dime we gave to this.
I think our school systems I know, it just is what it is. I don't know, but I do have a heart to want to support.
Because we do know we had more obligations is what we put that slid in. So I said, I don't either. I wish we had $1 million to give them every.
Well, and talking about the gym down here, I do think it can be not only county Unicoi, but it can be a community center. You know, I mean, it really is a resource that people can
See,
enjoy and use.
my dream has been that we could, maybe not 50-50, but we could have, just like, you know, like Christmas craft show or something inside. I just come up with that, that's just not top of my head.
Well, and there's a lot of things.
But just
that
like,
can be done,
just
but
like the strawberry festival, if it's pouring to rain that day and we get that, we might.
can't bring all those people inside, but yeah.
But we could put enough inside to make it happen, but we don't have any place now. And just saying,
So, well, anyway, I know, and just saying, so I guess I would ask, that y'all would just give consideration, just sleep, think, you know what I mean? And just think about those things and ponder and which way we need to go.
Well, I
where
think
we
every
need to
year,
go,
it's,
and-
everything gets redirected. That seems like this year, because of us adding some more things, it's more so on us. And because of COVID, because of everything
It's
going up in
different.
expenses, so, you know, we don't have a lot of resources like the other in the county
And
does.
there's no way we're gonna make everybody happy. I mean, it just takes it, when I go, everybody's perfectly happy with everything we do, but, you know, what I mean, we've got to prioritize, and as a board, to come together to decide, where do we want our money to go? Where do we get the best return? What's the priority?
Where's our
You know, what
budget?
direction do we want to go? So that's
And,
what
you know,
we're charged
the
with.
citizens are asking, will ask us, you know, what are you doing? Well, we're trying to manage the money that we're getting the best we can for the citizens. And, you know, it's a hard look at this. It's dollars and cents. Unfortunately, it's not about blaming anyone, it's dollars and cents. And I see no end to it. You know,
and here's another thing, if it wasn't being used as a kitchen,
It could be a different activity in there that
We
was
could
still
mark-
costing us. the
but we
same.
could market it and maybe at least recover some of those yearly payments.
Well, we can market the kitchen.
But
I mean, no matter what it is, it
Either
can be
house-
marketed.
Yeah, in any form, how's that, whatever form. But right now, we're committed, she's losing 2 or 3 customers. And if,
But those are successes.
but they're not real big things.
But it doesn't matter. The success on her benchmarks are a business started and moved out and went to brick and mortar. That's a success. That's on a benchmark. I hit a mark.
She had like $2,900 in March. But that's just a little bit of the monthly bills over there. I mean, we're not getting even close and you take away big clean meals and 2 other people, and it's down to less than $1,500.
well, we had, I'll read you I got the data on it. These are the people that paid in March. Daphne Fisher, $25.50. The Country Chef, $41.60. G Family Holdings, $102. Mayfair Market, $78. Hungarian Sausage King, $41.60. Here comes the big one. Comfort Foods, $433.50. J Bay, who's moving, I believe J Bay's moving now. $278, I think. Big Clean Meals, $852.72. Unicoi Rutan, I think Jefferson, I used it for $12.50.
That's potato peeler.
And Lazy Lady Bacon was $521. So we only got really 4 pretty good sized customers using it. But as I
But they
said,
shouldn't continually be using it.
That's
They
correct.
should be using it, building their business and moving out.
Yes.
So to be successful means you don't always have people in there, which is a kind of paradoxical
But they're pretty smart.
situation.
But they're really pretty smart. The way
Yeah.
they're putting their overhead.
Yeah, and I think that when they do go out on their own business, then that's where the tax dollar comes, because they were here back to our.
I hope, yeah. But they're not, none of them located in Unicoi County. Hungarian Sausage King has his truck a lot down in Irwin, but
That
They're
one
not in
company's
Unicoi
from
County.
Sullivan County, Washington County.
J
They're all-
Bakes,
nobody's
Lazy
from around here.
Baking, anyway, she's from Johnson City. All right, are we done? I'm done. I close my mouth.
I know, I know.
Are we done?
done?
Y'all have anything else?
So tell us what we're gonna do next week.
Everything we didn't do is
We gotta go through this and look at it again. At home.
with the conversations that we've had, with any additional information you've been provided. And make suggestions, look at it, and make suggestions. Right now, Debbie Bennett wasn't here, but Debbie Kessler, you told Debbie what you had brought together and brought to us, had us over budget by
$32,000.
$132,000.
What we adjusted Lois and a couple other things,
That brought it way down, didn't it?
it brought it down to
Less than 76.
43,475, I hope.
Okay, let's just say that one more time.
43,475. I'll bring you an updated copy.
Okay.
That's it.
Next week, we'll have our second budget work session, which is the 30th of April. First reading is May. The packets will go out the week before the BMA, so between then and the week before the packets go out, or the week before the meeting, we need to know where we are, what we want to do.
So we need to be as,
We need to go down.
we need to be as confirmed as we can be at the end of the April 30th meeting next week.
So have we think through there that we'd like to make it,
Next Friday.
and we can tell it next week, because I know one thing.
But we don't vote on it, we just put it in there, right?
Yeah, this would just be what I need to pull into the ordinance. Because the first reading is May. I
What's the date of that first meeting?
think it's the 15th, isn't it?
And we can change it between the first and second reading.
Yeah, but I know that, it really causes me a lot of grief when that happens.
Also, we need to redo that ordinance about that building permit. thing.
3rd of May, 3rd is the
It's
17th.
17th. So April 30th is the second workshop.
Do we need to plan on a work session on the 10th to finalize anything?
Well, we could, because on the 12th, it needs to go out in the packets.
What if we did that? Do
Okay.
you think, okay, if we meet on the 30th, but then we have a work session meeting on the 10th
Okay.
to just finalize the budget, to make sure we're good. Yeah, it doesn't have to go long, but just let's all
Okay,
get our
what
seal.
time on the 10th?
Do you want to go do a 5:30? Or do you want to do it, I mean, 5, is 5 too bad? 5's better probably for you coming out of school. Let's do 5.
Okay, so I'll have to advertise this.
5,
It's
Okay.
May the 10th.
on the 10th.
May the 10th, it'll be a work session.
May 10th at 5. And we're 5 o'clock, 5 o'clock.
What date's
It's gonna be different, it's gonna be 5 o'clock.
5 instead of 5:30.
And
I like that. 2 days, that has to be in an ordinance to go out.
Say that again.
in 2 days.
It has to be in
something
an ordinance. This budget has to be in the ordinance format to go out in the packet in 2 days.
So we can't do, we need to give them a seal of approval. We've got to make sure we're in consensus. We can't do a lot of debate, make a bunch of changes. You know, we
Do
just
we
need to
vote
give
that day?
No.
No, but it's just a work session, make sure everybody knows what's in it. Everybody knows what's in it, and no questions.
And as far as.
And the police department's getting slipped in after the fact. Sorry.
And then as far as the International Building Code, we're going to send copies of that to Dwight, along with the copy that we got from Irwin, with the exceptions. One being, which is the sprinkler system on a residence, on a single family residence. And then that will be for second reading and public hearing for that meeting as well. Yes. So we've got a lot going on.
Just leave your yellow marker in calculator, we'll have it again next time.
Just leave it.
Yeah, we might as well leave this the way it is, right?
Is it gonna be long? I'll ask her.
You know, I don't know.
Because somebody made the board our calculator.
Somebody needs to turn it off if we're done.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I can turn it off.
Okay. Ashley, we're done.
Oh, is she?
She's listening now.
Oh, she's listening. I'm sorry.
She's got it going in her office. She's got a meeting in her office.
Was that your bid?
Oh, you wanted to?
Was that your bid?
No, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
If y'all have any, I will not be in Monday morning, Monday, I'll be in Tuesday. If anybody has any questions or anything, just give me
And you got the address.
a call. Okay.
I see she's holding.
When did you send it?
Yeah,
I've not been down there.
yeah.
Did you get the 501? No. For search and rescue.
I did.
I saw that.
I think I got everything that I needed.
I called Mike and told him, he said, evidently Andrew forgot to give it to you when he did the package.
I believe we did.
I said, well, we don't want to mess up and not have that in there, because I know they have every important person they knew working for them to tell me something, that bathroom, does that go open on?
It's supposed to be unlocked on this side. What happens is they come inside and lock that door and don't unlock it. You know what I'm saying?
But I see people going around to use the bathroom, but
Yeah.
even if.
They're coming through that back